This morning, we have confirmed 2 new positive cases of COVID-19 in the Territory. The new cases are the wife and daughter of the 5th positive case from Sunday, the Palmerston man who was a close contact of the original case. This brings the Tanami outbreak to 9. These two new cases had been transferred to the Centre for National Resilience on Sunday following the positive result of their family member. They tested positive while in the Centre for National Resilience. We are releasing a substantial list of new exposure sites today. This relates to their activity in the Palmerston area on Saturday morning, the 26th of June. The health advice is that they probably were not infectious during this period, given they had only just been exposed. But given it is the Delta strain, we cannot take any chances. We are going to operate on the assumption that they were infectious. This is a long list, please bear with me. It is also pretty complicated. All of this will be put on the coronavirus website and on the Secure NT Facebook page, and will be updated throughout the day, and you'll see why the updates are important in a moment, so please pay careful attention. There is one close contact exposure site. This is a high risk site. It is a Zumba class that was held between 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. on Saturday morning at the Rec Centre in Palmerston. Everyone who attended this class is now under a stay-at-home order and required to isolate for the next 14 days, regardless of the result of their COVID test. We have the QR code information from this event. We think about 25 people were there, including the instructor. They are all being contacted now to isolate. Their household contacts are also under a stay-at-home order. There are several casual contact sites. I will list them now. First, the Palmerston Flea Market, which they visited twice on Saturday morning. If you attended the flea market on Saturday between 7:45 a.m. and 8:45 a.m, or between 9:30 a.m. and 9:45 a.m, you are considered a casual contact. You must immediately isolate, and you must stay isolated until you return a negative test result. In addition, there is a public toilet in that area. We will provide address and time range later today. Once we do, if you use this facility on Saturday morning, you must isolate and get tested and stay isolated until you receive a negative result. Okay, this is where it gets a bit confusing. This information applies to a lot of people in Palmerston. Please listen carefully. The Gateway Shopping Centre is considered a low-risk exposure site. That means if you visited Gateway Shopping Centre on Saturday, the 26th of June, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m, you are required to monitor for symptoms. However, and this is important, there are several stores inside Gateway. These stores are considered casual contact sites. This means that if you visited these stores between certain times, you are required to isolate and get tested and stay isolated until you receive a negative test result. We do not yet have the specific times for exposure in these stores on Saturday. We will have that information later today. Until that information is released, we are asking people who visited these stores at any time between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. to isolate until we have that specific information for you. The stores inside Gateway are Big W, Woolworths, Rockman's Clothing Store, Hosking's Jewellers, Pharmacy for Less, and the underground car park at the shopping centre. Again, this is important. If you are in these stores or in the underground car park on Saturday morning, please isolate now. Later today, we can advise you of the specific time periods, so you will know if you need to stay isolated and get tested. This is also important. The isolate and test directions still apply even if you are an essential worker. As you saw yesterday, the details of the exposure sites can change quickly because we are constantly interrogating and verifying the information we receive. So please stay tuned for updates today. We can't be certain, but we are hopeful that the 2 new cases became infectious while isolating at Howe Springs. But as I said, we aren't going to take any chances. This does show us how careful we have to be. It shows why we are insisting that the household contacts of close contacts also isolate, because they are also at high risk of exposure. In relation to the positive case from yesterday, the 7th case, I told you yesterday that the man had spent an extended period of time with 7 close contacts, 6 were friends, 1 was a taxi driver. They have all been located and transferred to the Centre for National Resilience, where they will now stay for 14 days. That was done yesterday. Given their risk to the wider community, those results were fast-tracked. This morning we have had 6 results come back negative, and we are waiting for 1 result to come back. These negative results are encouraging, but this point is important. Testing negative now does not mean they can't test positive in the coming days. They still can. Our advice is that with the Delta variant, they are more likely to test positive close to a week later. That's why all close contacts are staying in isolation for 14 days, regardless of the first test result. To update on the high-risk exposure site from yesterday, the Buff Club. We've received the number of close contacts, we've revised the number of close contacts to 171. The contact tracers started their work yesterday and have done a superhuman effort. They only have 29 people left to track down out of the 171, and that number is going down quickly. All of these people and their household contacts will isolate for 14 days. Remember, all these people are high-risk close contacts, but they have also been in lockdown, like the rest of us, since Sunday afternoon. Our health advice is that the positive case who spent time at the Buff Club was probably at its most infectious from Sunday Arvo Sunday evening, after the lockdown had commenced. So we aren't taking any chances. We are keeping a lot of people isolated, but it would appear that the timing of the lockdown, acting straight away rather than waiting till the end of the day, has paid off massively for us and substantially reduced the risk of a spreader event. I want to make one brief point about one of our casual contact exposure sites from yesterday, the Stewart Park corner store. There is an itinerant population that spends a lot of time in that area, with a prominent service provider across the road. Larrakia Nation is continuing their excellent work. They've got 10 patrols operating now, engaging with rough sleepers. They're helping us to identify anyone who may have visited the store so they can be tested and assisted with accommodation. They are telling people, including in language wherever possible, the importance of staying in Darwin and not returning to their home communities at this stage. Now to an update on the 259 people who left the mine during the infectious period and stayed in the Territory. All have now been tested. There are no new positive cases from the cohort. I've asked that to be double checked. They are going through an assurance process now. Again, all these people will stay in isolation for 14 days. The Health Minister will be providing you with an update on vaccinations later today, including the new decisions on vaccinations out of National Cabinet last night. I can tell you now that the new drive-through Marara testing site has 6 lanes open. 4 are for booked appointments, 2 are for drop-ins. So you don't have to book an appointment now, you can drop in. There is still capacity for testing at the Palmerston Clinic as well. But to everyone in Palmerston, please remember that the Marara facility is there for you too, and that has more capacity. You don't need to book, but I recommend you do, so that it will be quicker for you and for us. You can book through the coronavirus website, coronavirus.nt.gov.au. We are also making 2 hotspot declarations today, replicating the lockdown announcements from Western Australia and Queensland. As of 11 a.m, the Perth and Peel regions are considered hotspots for the purposes of travel to the Territory. We are reviewing the Queensland decision that has just been made, but we expect to have a hotspot declared from 5:30 p.m. for the areas that Queensland has declared as lockdown locations. The Police Commissioner will talk more about what we are doing on the hotspots, but I'll just make the point. We are really doing for this to everyone outside the Greater Darwin area, like Alice Springs. You aren't in lockdown like we are up here, but we're doing everything we need to protect you. Some other decisions from National Cabinet. I'll run through quickly 2 of them. National Cabinet agreed to separate high-risk cohorts and hotel quarantine from low-risk cohorts. Basically, keep the international travellers away from the domestic travellers. We don't use hotel quarantine for international arrivals here, but it is obviously relevant to us as the Tanami outbreak is a result of a leak in hotel quarantine elsewhere. It's Fair to say, everyone at National Cabinet was very happy to accept this health advice and enact it. Also, National Cabinet agreed with AHPPC advice that travellers should be tested again after they leave supervised quarantine. In the Territory, we already have that strong rule in place. We have a day 17 rule for anyone entering the Territory after leaving quarantine. If you leave international quarantine and come here, you need to get tested on day 17 or during the following fortnight. We are now reviewing that to see if we can make it even stronger. Before I pass to Dr. Heggie, I do want to warn people that we are expecting more positive cases throughout the week. What gives us hope is how effective the quick lockdown has been. It has meant that the community was largely protected during the infectious periods. We are still very nervous. We are not close to relaxing yet. There is still a lot to worry about, but the lockdown is working. I thank everyone in the top end for what you have done so far to make the lockdown work. You have been magnificent. Thank you. Let's keep going.